So this is more than a little late. It's my January wrap up. I wasn't originally going to do it because I only read 4 books in January because I had exams and I was studying for those. I just told myself that this is the first wrap up I've done on this channel, and if I skip the first one I'm going to skip loads, so I might as well just do it. And obviously I want to share with you the books that I read this January, so here goes. The first book I read was a complete accident. Not that it wasn't a good book, because I actually thoroughly enjoyed this book, but because it was the second in a trilogy. I didn't realise. So it's called It's Not Summer Without You, and it's by Jenny Han, who wrote To All the Boys I've Ever Loved Before, which I read and I wasn't that keen on. I thought she was quite a lazy writer, but this book I quite enjoyed, and a few of my friends said that it wasn't the type of book that they were used to seeing me reading, but I loved it, and they were right. I don't really read these types of books all that often, but I did really love it. It was really easy to read going into, even though it was a second, because author just told me again and again who people were, and it wasn't just like a thrown into the middle of things. It was very like a fresh start, and I didn't realise that it was the second in a trilogy until about halfway through it. I just kept going. Yeah, so basically it's about this girl called Belly. Her name's Isabella, I'm pretty sure, but they call her Belly. And she has to choose between 2 brothers, basically. I mean, she really likes one. One was her first love, but the other's much better for her. So she has to choose between them, and it's set at a summer house, so it's really fun. In summary, I'd definitely pick it up during summer. And I definitely recommend it. I gave it 4 stars out of 5 stars because I just really enjoyed it. I went straight through it, it was brilliant. After that I picked up Twisted, which is shiny because it's a library book, by Laurie Anderson, and basically it's about a boy who got in trouble for pulling a prank. It wasn't a very good prank. On the scale of Alaska Young to, like, this is Alaska Young up here, he's way down there. It was a terrible prank. So he pulls this prank, he goes to like community service and stuff, and the school, you know, he doesn't have a good reputation. He has a really like troublemaker reputation, and then something happens, something quite bad, and everybody thinks it's him because he was associated with this person. And basically the novel is about him trying to prove that it wasn't him, and trying to prove that he's innocent and that he's changed. But it also deals with mental health. It's definitely very interesting, and it is quite a frightening situation, so it's like a good, you know, lesson not to judge people because of the way they were in the past. And I gave that 2 stars out of 5 stars. Yeah. After that I picked up Lovely, Dark and Deep, which I know what you're all thinking. It's about a girl who was in a car crash and she loses her boyfriend and she moves to live with her dad, and she meets somebody there and it's a boy, and it's her like trying to start over her new life and trying to move on, but it's very hard, and trying to just get out of that. Oh, there's a spider! I don't even mind spiders, but I don't like seeing it. Get off my mammal board, you freak! Okay. And trying to like move on and start a new life and just get out of that endless rut that she's in. I mean, she just doesn't do anything but jog, and it is like, I thought it was quite a good book, but I absolutely despised the ending. But basically the ending is supposed to be a happy ending, but I think it's just so sad. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5 because I thought the writing was good, and I thought it was a really believable character, and I cared for her a little bit too much. That's why I was so angry at the end. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. The relationship in this, I think, is so unhealthy. It's such an unhealthy relationship. Her boyfriend is really controlling, and it's seen as protective. If you read this book and you agree with me, please tell me, because or if you've read it, please tell me, because I definitely thought this guy was a complete kinda arse. And then the last book I read in January was the complete collected poetry of Edgar Allan Poe, and if you know me, you'll know that I do enjoy poetry, and it's not really a resolution, but I sort of try and make sure that every month I read at least like 1 book of poetry, or at least some poetry. And I thought I'd stem off because you ever meet somebody who doesn't say anything in 5 words than he can in 20? Yeah, so Edgar Allan Poe. Basically I tried to stem off my weird I wouldn't say quite obsession, but fixation on Allen Ginsberg and Arthur Rimbaud and move on to somebody else. So I picked up Edgar Allan Poe. I actually got it for my Christmas from my brother because he always gives me an amount of money and is like, what do you want? And I'm like, ha, surprise, books. And then he lets me pick my books, and it's great because every time I look at my bookshelf it also reminds me of him, so that's really nice. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't want to go into it and just love it because, you know, it's Edgar Allan Poe and it's very quirky or whatever the frick people think he is. I either love a poem or I hate it. There were some in here that I wasn't keen on, but none that I particularly hated. I read this book in between classes, so yeah, it was a sort of fill the gaps book while I was studying and while I was cramming and while I was crying and having nice gentle panic attacks in the warm space of the library. School. But yeah, I mean, I'm flicking through it and I can see loads of bits that I've highlighted, and you know, sometimes a poem is not even that great in its entirety, but when you look back, little bits of it just get you. And I mean, I once talked to this teacher at my school who I used to really admire, but now just look at him and think I never want to be you ever. And he told me that, you know, poetry has to be universal, which I was a bit skeptical about, but I get it. I mean, it's like when writers say you can't just write for yourself, you have to write for other people. I definitely go into a poem and sometimes I don't look for what the writer's trying to tell me, I look for what I'm trying to find in the poem. I mean, I really definitely loved some of these poems, like A Dream Within a Dream. I love Bells, is it Bells it's called? The one that just, it sounds so good when you read it out loud. The Bells. I absolutely adored that. It's, oh my gosh. Like, if you've never read poetry, I've definitely just read The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. It's definitely one of my favourites, and it was the first time that I've ever read The Raven. I really liked it. I didn't really read the introduction. I don't, to be honest, really care about authors, which is sad, but it's more about the people they create rather than the person they created their whole life, and I know it's bad, but I more want to see what they felt rather than who people thought they were and wrote about them, so I didn't really read the introduction. I'd say 4 books is quite impressive whether or not I was studying, but I made a lot of things and I did a lot of things in January, and it's been a good year so far, so yeah, if you want to leave me book suggestions down below, definitely do it because I love that, and I'll leave like my Tumblr down there, so okay, bye.